verse 3. I will be reading from the King James Version. If you have the King James Version, please read along with me. And it reads, "Go your ways. Behold, I send you forth as lambs among wolves." Let us read it again. "Go your ways. Behold, I send you forth as lambs among wolves." We'd like to speak this hour from the thought, the return of the wolf. The return of the wolf. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. Friends, years ago, I had a very painful but pointed discussion with somebody that I have come to know and love. And in that conversation, as they reminded me later, they said, "Pastor, you call me a predator." And I did. And the reason I did is because you're not saved unless that wolf in you is saved too. In the Bible, the wolf is always pictured as predatory, ravenous, an insatiable beast. The Bible identifies them as solitary predators. Their aim is to consume everything that come along that's good. I'm going to get it. Now, interestingly, Brother Flowers, the wolf is never pictured in the Bible apart from the church, apart from the sheep. He's never pictured apart from the flock of God. Wherever you got sheep, you're going to have wolves. The wolf is contrasted with the sheep. The wolf is everything that the sheep is not. I remember, Brother Palmer, when I first came to Warren County, you had to check me out to make sure I wasn't a wolf. I used to talk to Sister Palmer on the phone, and Brother Palmer would listen in to make sure that what the young preacher was saying was all right. The wolf is everything that the sheep is not. The wolf is independent. In other words, they don't have a shepherd. You know, folk nowadays believe they don't need no pastor. The wolf is solitary. They are not part of a flock. Some folk believe they don't need to be a part of the fellowship of a church. The wolf is always hungry. In other words, my sisters and my brothers, your family lines are full of people who don't know the peace that come along with contentment. Somehow the wolf always look to ravage the defenseless. In other words, everywhere the wolf appears, chaos follows. Every now and then, I know when I'm dealing with a wolf because every disturbance in the church got so-and-so name in it. This brings me to my first point. Hear it well. We were all wolves. Some of us still are. The disciples were sent to the wilderness, metaphorically speaking. And their task, Deacon Hart, is to preach and prayerfully convert some wolves. Wolves, Brother Flowers, they are the lost. When you be wilding out, turning up, living your best life, faking it till you make it, shaking it but don't break it, using what you got. Wolves are the lost, roaming the world. Can I talk in here? You know that black culture now is strip club culture. All of our language and words we get from the strip club environment. All of the music we listen to when we are unsaved, this is strip club music. Wolves are the lost. Your cousins, your sons and daughters, grandchildren, roaming the world with no shepherd. No daddy either. Only flock they got is the vice lords. No flock. No peace. Always hungry for something. Always after something. And sooner or later, they will involve themselves with some controversy. That's the background that we all come from. But before you get offended, I'm not speaking of the public presentation of your person. I know that we all present ourselves, Sister Scott, as sheep. That's why the wolf is never mentioned in the New Testament apart from the sheep. You see, that wolf is actually, Brother Omar, that inner part of ourselves that don't want to be governed by a shepherd. Can I talk in here? I did tell you that everybody got a little wolf in them, right? He don't know me. He don't know where I've been. You mean where you been foraging? I know about foraging. You don't want to be governed by a shepherd. You don't want to be governed by a father. You never had a father in your house. You don't want a man telling you what to do. That's why ladies nowadays culture, they don't want to be governed by a husband. Yeah, I'll be your wife, but you ain't finna tell me nothing. And that's why we can't keep a job, because we don't want a boss on the job. That wolf is that person that part of us that don't want to answer to nobody. And always hungry. We desire to live life with no limitations. Shot caller. Big boss. Big baller. The wolf is that part of ourselves that believes we either conquer or be conquered. We don't want to let anybody see us weak. Because meekness is weakness. And the wolf doesn't want to share its most intimate life with another. And it believes that it doesn't have to. The wolf is the inner essence of the selfishness and hurt that was inbred in us. Your mama raised a predator. The wolf that's in you, your mama raised. My wife tells the story. Don't whoop me, wife. I'm not wanting to share her easy bake oven. When her cousins would come over, she said they tear up everything. Now she 50 telling the story of what happened when she 5. But I just believe you spend so much time with Easy Bake, you just don't want to share Easy Bake with nobody else. Some of us, if I might have your unbiased opinion, some of us were raised by wolves. He don't know my mama. No, but I know what the Bible teach. Single parents who did everything they could to provide, but what they didn't know was that their efforts to put a little something in us, although that we present ourselves as friendly, that little something they put in us, there's a part in there that's hard. You know what a callus is on your foot? It's that hard place. There's something in us, Sister McAllister, that was put in us when we were young. That's hard. That's unfeeling. That will not cry even when I'm getting my butt whooped. Even though I put perfume on, even though I deal with the Revlon and oil of Olay, even though I can talk with the softest of voices, and I can sway my hips just right and make you look, there's a part in me that ain't nothing but a predator. It's the wolf that's got to be satisfied, Omar, at all costs, because you do know the wolf get hungry. And when the wolf is not fed, the wolf is going to prey on other folk. Can I just talk in here? If you've ever had your marriage broken up because of infidelity, it was a wolf involved. The wolf breaks up marriages. Not because it necessarily wants to be with the person, but it breaks a marriage up just to satisfy itself. I'm hungry, I got to eat, you available. And the wolf I never met, besides myself, other folk who could lie so convincingly as a wolf. Can I talk in here? I need you to understand now. The wolf cunningly lies. Put on their best sheep imitation to get what it wants. I'd have been sitting in that study so many times. A woman come in there crying, talking about Pastor, what he did to me. And I called some more brothers in there. And before you know it, man, we want to light the torches and get some pitchforks. And all the while we were talking to the wolf. I was talking to the wolf. Wolf sitting there crying in front of me. Talking about what the man done. And I didn't even know the Negro locked up and you put him there. And you told him you were going to lock him up. The Bible pictures wolves. Is that part of us that was not bred in a Christian environment? It is that part of us that's most heathen, that's most untrained, that will not be governed by what God has said. Wolves are born, but sheep are made. Can I talk in here? Everybody was born with some part of you that's a wolf because you were raised by a predator. And if you were born in a single parent home, you was raised by a lone wolf. So the disciples, they are sent back to the class of the wolves from which Jesus initially called them to follow him. This brings me to my second point. Hear it well. When we come into the church, when we, LT, when we, Brother Montgomery, when we, Sister Sandals, when we come into the church, it is as wolves dressed like sheep. You do understand that Jesus' whole coming to the earth was about the saving of souls, about getting that wolf nature out of us. And you understand that sometimes it's easier to fake that the wolf is gone. Very few come into the church openly as a wolf saying, I want to be a sheep. See, you women will run them off. You married women. Woman come in here like a Jezebel, say she done broke up marriages, say she was just with a dude last night that wasn't her husband. Y'all will be saying, Pastor, you don't need to bring her in here. Dress too short, too many highlights in her hair, and she wiggly when she walk. Asking the mother, she got a slip on? She ain't got no stockings on, no hosiery. And oh, if she wearing pants, her pants too tight. See, we scared of wolves when we don't acknowledge where we come from. Can I preach in here? I ain't scared of what I once was. I remember when I got to Vicksburg, Brother Palmer, and I went to see your son over at the hotel when they were doing bad stuff out of one of them hotel rooms. And everybody was surprised the preacher was going over there. And I'm saying to myself, now you know after church, some of y'all going to roll through. Yes, sir. Ain't no need in you pretending. The gospel of Jesus Christ is about dramatic and radical change, about changing the nature of something. it ain't about a wolf turning into a little wolf. It's about a wolf turning into something different that he never was, which is a lamb. But in churches that have no Holy Ghost saving power, when people present themselves as wolves, we don't want them. Send him to the shelter, pastor. Sheep are naturally afraid of wolves. And so when we come into a flock, when you come, Brother Tardy, we as wolves, we are reticent to show our wolf nature. We know it's there now. Lips still black from... Can I talk in here? Still got our club clothes we wear in the church. But when we come into church, we come presenting ourselves as a sheep. Paul would tell the church at Ephesus that there were wolves who would rise up among them and wouldn't spare the flock. What I'm trying to say is that the wolf nature is there in the church, hidden beneath the thin outward veneer of Christianity. Because you know Christianity is always put on outwardly, but only a few are converted inwardly. You see, you can learn to act like a Christian. You can learn to act like a sheep. But that don't do nothing for your wolf nature. When you hear people talk about going back to their street ways, when they start taking the earrings off and the shoes off, talking about, you don't know where I'm from. It's your acknowledgement that you got some wolf still in you. And wolves don't like to be played as weak. That's why wolves in popular culture, they are presented as werewolves. Humans who, when presented with certain circumstances like the full moon, then they go through the change. See, if you're in church presenting yourself as a Christian and you snap, it's because you got some wolf in you. I ain't talking about dog, I'm talking about wolf. The anger of how you were raised, that's still there when you join church. The shame of what was done to you as a child, still there when you're singing in the choir. And for those of you who were raised to be better than the others and to look down on others, that ain't nothing but a predatory nature. And it's still there when you get in the position of authority in the church. The prophet Ezekiel called some of Israel's leaders wolves because they destroyed the lives of others for their own benefit. Churches are full of wolves. Why? Because when people join, they presented their outward sheep for membership, not their inward ravening wolves. You see, we don't like nothing nasty in church. We like to position the church as being a group of people who are saints who ain't never had no problems. And so when people come in the church, they don't confess to being wolves. As somebody who would sleep with your wife if you don't watch it. Somebody who will steal from the collection if you don't watch it. Can I preach in here? In other words, they come as sheep looking for shelter. Anyone seen as being outside the sheepfold were automatically considered wolves, and none of us want to be considered a wolf in God's house. We want the shelter of church. What better place than to let my wolf nature grow? You do know fungus grows best in the dark. When we worship as sheep. When we gather as sheep. But the message from heaven today is that the disciples were sent to preach and convert wolves. And many of us have missed that point. Decades ago, I was told by my pastor that praise or liturgical dance was wrong for churches. And the reason he gave was that there were too many predators sitting in the pews. And my experience in ministry has been the same. Some things we are limited by because there are many wolves dressed in sheep clothing. Can I talk in here? You see, that's why we don't dress, why we don't date in the church. Because there are some single women and single men that still have that wolf nature. That predatory, got to conquer and keep up mess nature. Can I talk in here? In other words, when they come in the church, they are satisfied, satiated for now. But that old hunger, I need you to hear it now. When that wolf is still in there, that old hunger, you can count on it coming back. I need you to hear it, my sisters and my brothers. You may be satisfied when you first come in the church and then you start living for the Lord. But I need you to understand that old hunger is coming back. Sometime I can eat and it be such a good meal. I tell my wife I'm through for the day. But before the sun go down, I feel a little rumbling. And I have to put in a call to one of these boys. I say, bro, you headed by Burger King tonight? And in the same way, when you come in the church and stand before the church, Sister Bell, you stand before us full, but you're still a wolf, dressed in sheep clothing. And sooner or later, that hunger, I got to roll me one up. Or I got to call Carlos. I ain't talked to him in a long time. And some of y'all run through men like you run through cards in a... And I don't mean you like them, you just use them. Because that's what a predator does. That's what a wolf does. A wolf uses folk. Sooner or later, that old longing for independence, that desire for some of the world, it's Mardi Gras time. I'm going to Mardi Gras somewhere. I might not make it down to New Orleans. I'm going to the coast or somewhere. I got to have some grow in my Mardi. Can I talk in here? You know how some of y'all be gone 3 or 4 days, don't nobody know where you gone, no forwarding address, don't answer no text, don't answer no call. Act like you're mad because the church was calling you when you show back up. That ain't nothing but the wolf that came back. Can I preach in here? This brings me to my third point, and it's this. Here it is. I need you to hear it, Adriana, because some of you can bear me witness. Here it is, Sister Shannon McGee. Here it is, Stephen Caldwell. If the wolf in there, he coming back. He coming back. If the wolf didn't get saved when you got saved, he's still there. And if he's still there, that hungry part of you, that part that your mama raised that you know is rotten. Every conflict I've ever had in the church, and I've had lots of them, it's been because the wolf returned in someone that had been successfully passing themselves off as a sheep. Everybody a sheep till something bad happen. Until that wolf is given a chance to come out. And when that wolf come out, I was put in the position as a shepherd of having to protect the flock. Ladies and gentlemen, some of you will not get close to the flock. No senior outing, no events, because you know you got a wolf. I ain't gonna tell it on you, but you ain't gonna get close to folk because you know you can't control when the wolf gonna show itself.